On today's episode, we're answering the question, no, we're not, because I'm on the wrong damn outline.
Yeah, and it really starts with understanding who you're talking to and why they would interact with you on social media, because social media is a giant playground. We talked about cute kittens in those photos. I love it. I'm here for it. But as a business owner, ultimately, we are trying to grow our business, and it's figuring out that space between where we want to go and where our customers are right now and how we can use social media to take them on that journey. So it starts with understanding the different areas of that journey. So some people who find you on social media, they're new people. They've never heard of you before and they just found your account. How are you going to speak to those people versus the people who've been maybe following you for a year or two, but they've never purchased anything from you? Maybe they've never even signed up for, a newsletter or a freebie or something like that. So when you're speaking to those people, they know who you are, but they need more encouragement to take that next level and that next step. And then you have those people who, they're just waiting for your next launch. They know that you're it. They want to buy from you. They've been saving up their money and they want to buy something from you the next time you launch something. And so when you're speaking to that group of people, it's a little bit of a different strategy. And each of those stages happen simultaneously with a lot of business owners. Okay, so they all happen at the same time. But oftentimes with newer business owners, you're focusing on that first step, that first stage of, you're talking to people who don't know who you are. And they don't know what you sell. And so you've kind of got to speak to them a little bit differently. So once you kind of outline each of those stages, then you can start to start crafting content and taking action towards growing your audience of people who would actually buy from you one day.
I really like how you broke that down as far as the buyer's journey, because I am all about that life. Okay. And that's not just social, that's your entire business, is understanding who they are and where they are in their journey, in their relationship with you. The question that I have is, how do you create content that doesn't alienate one or more of those, right? Like, do you create different posts or show up in different platforms or have a group for this? And how do we manage all of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for most of us, a lot of our audience will fall into one category predominantly, or one stage. So for a lot of my clients are in the coaching space. So business coaches, leadership coaches, career coaches. A lot of their social media strategy is for that middle stage. People who know of them, have heard of them, maybe listen to them on a podcast or something like that. And they're kind of following along because they're mildly interested, but they're not quite sure what the next step would be. So a lot of our content is focused on that group and speaking to that group. So really understanding kind of the role that social media plays in your business can be helpful for that. But definitely having that balance of content is key. And for a lot of us, about 1/5 of our content will speak directly to a call to action, meaning 1 out of every 5 posts, we're going to say, hey, this is what I sell. Here's how you buy it. Be very direct. The rest of the posts are going to speak to the other stages of the journey. So if you're new here, maybe here's a challenge you may be having and here's how you could solve it. If you've been here for a while, maybe going a little bit deeper into sharing personal stories or sharing examples from your clients and customers. And so the rest of the time, you're really focused on those first 2 stages of the customer journey. The exception is if you are launching. So when you are in the middle of a launch, all of that goes out the window, and most of your posts are probably really focused on that strong call to action.
I was just going to ask that, because if it's if it's 1 out of every 5 posts and you are in a launch, I wanted to know what that looked like, simply because at the time that we're recording this, Allison and I are a day away from actually launching a webinar. So we've been all over social media with it. So I was like, oh no, am I screwing up? I really appreciate that answer. You're really diving in. You're giving us a lot of really good tactical information for every question that we're answering. We've actually added a couple of questions that weren't originally even on our outline. And one of the ones I was going to ask, I'm not even going to ask it anymore, because we've already talked about it. It's already done. So let me ask a really general question that is probably pretty simple. And what is the point of growing a social media following? And I'm going to put a little bit on the end. I help clients build list builds, and we use social media to facilitate that. And we look at some people and we say, oh, that person has 150,000 followers on Instagram. They'd be a really good fit for utilizing them on, let's say, a summit. But you and I both know that conversions from social media are sometimes hit or miss. So what is the point of growing a social media following in terms of conversion?
Yes. And unfortunately, you are absolutely correct in that followers aren't everything. There are some people who have, 300,000 followers, can't sell anything. And I have a client who has 1,200 followers, so just over 1,000. She consistently sells out her launches every time she's launched, and we've been working with her for a year. So it's not about the followers per se, though that generally speaking can be a good indicator of growth and of interest and progress. But I like to see social media as really speaking to those first two stages of the buyer's journey. And while we can sell on social media, a lot of the selling happens elsewhere, predominantly in email. And so when we think about social media, it's really, I like to think about it like dating. So you meet someone, you get to know them, you go on a few dates, you get to like them, and then you can take it to the next step, whatever that means for you. And so on social media, I really like to think about it as that wooing and dating period with someone where they're getting to know you, like you, and trust you. And then the next step happens elsewhere, whether that be if you're a service-based business, it could be a free consultation. If you do summits, like you mentioned, it is joining that summit or signing up for that or a webinar. If you sell a group program, maybe it's a lead magnet to get into your funnel for the group program. And so social media can really play a role in that way. And ultimately, this is why you really have to understand your entire marketing completely in order to understand where social media kind of falls within that scope. But yeah, when you're thinking about, what's the point? Why am I doing this? You want to think about how you can get your followers or those interested in what you have to offer to take that very next step with you and get one step closer to working with you.
I feel like you are leading me and leading us directly through exactly the story that we're telling our audience and the information that we wanted to get out, because my next question is, how do we get traffic to our offers? How can we use social? I know that it's a part of your whole marketing strategy, and I love that. What role does it play?
Yeah. And one of the things that I like to talk about when I'm thinking about social media and how to get people to take action, because, it's really easy to post the cute cats. It's really easy to post even fun things like a poll or ask a question. But ultimately, as business owners, we do want them to take that next step. So one of the things I like to focus in on is the feelings that they have before and after they work with you. So when you're listing out that next step, let's say it's a lead magnet, you could talk about how many pages it has, what they're going to learn. But even as business owners, it's like, that feels like more work, right? Already, as I'm saying, it's like, I don't want to read pages. I want a solution. So when you're thinking about writing that social media post, it's focused on that feeling of where they are now. Maybe they aren't making progress in some area, or maybe they feel like they're blocked in some way, like they feel stuck. Or, the after is maybe they'll feel accomplished, proud. Maybe they'll feel like they can take that next step with you. And so really in your captions, describing what the feelings are is a great way to encourage that next step. And then you want to be really clear about where they can do this, because social media moves very quickly. And I don't even remember posts I saw yesterday. Okay. So think about your audience in that. And you want to kind of have that call to action start to feel a little bit like a commercial jingle. So, how we all know like the lawyer's phone number, for some reason, we can't forget it. So on social media, we want our calls to action to start sounding like that. And as a business owner, when you're writing these yourself, It does feel repetitive. Okay. You're like, haven't I said this already? But I promise you, not everyone has remembered it. And previously to that call to action, you're going to use different feelings. You're going to tap into different words to describe what that before and after transformation is, but your call to action should feel more like that commercial jingle so that people remember it. They know where to click, they know where to go, especially on platforms like Instagram, where clicking links is a bit of a journey. And so you want to make it that clear to help people to then take action in the middle of the hundreds of other posts that they're looking at every single day.
My nostrils were
I know.